Hey there, welcome back to my channel. I was only intending to do the one video on universal credit, but some interesting sort of developments since. The migrating across from employment support allowance in a support group and being on a PIP as well, which wasn't part of the migration, but it helps to give context to the person that I'm a carer for, and Um, so I've helped her migrate across, but this was in conjunction with the Citizens Advice Bureau and also a very helpful advocate. So we ended up having a four-way conversation with the Department of Work and Pensions, where we successfully migrated across to universal credit from employment support allowance. It seemed fine. Then on Friday. Obviously, I'm at work, so not able to do anything about this at the time. But on Friday, that uh, she received a couple of letters, not unexpectedly, I suppose, because when you migrate across from one benefit to another, um, there's always going to be some sort of clunky glitch in the matrix. And so, yeah, the letter was basically an arrears letter for the housing association that she's with, saying that her rent was in arrears, and yeah, so it wasn't unexpected. So it meant that we couldn't sort this out or couldn't speak to anyone until Monday, because by the time I finished work and got home, they would have been long gone by that point. So phoned them up on Monday morning, and yeah, we got through to a lady who I'm just trying to remember how this went actually. So the first people we phoned up was the Department of Work and Pensions, and they basically said, the lady on the other end of the phone said, let me think what she said. She just explained that when the universal credit would go in, um, and that it would be backdated, the housing, not it's housing, not a housing benefit anymore. So the universal credit for the rent would be backdated, paid to the landlord, the housing association, um, and and so that was fine. That's kind of what I expected. But it's also always good to get a few, you know, dates and stuff when these things are going to happen. And then she said, "Okay, but you need to, well, my friend needs to um, agree to commitments." I said, "Would you mean agree to commitments?" Because she'd already had a follow-up call from the Universal Credit to basically run through a few ID checks with her. Um, so I wasn't, you know, I had no idea what these commitments was. So she said, "I'll put you through. You need to agree to commitments to the new ESA." And so I did say to her, "Well, she's migrating from the ESA, employment support allowance, but no," she said, "you need to agree to these commitments, or else the benefit will stop." So I thought, okay, and right now, telling you this, fast forwarding, I'm still a little bit confused about this ESA component. It's definitely got something to do with disability, but when you're told that you're migrating from employment support allowance, and that support allowance will stop, and then you're told by the person from Universal Credit that she needs to agree to the commitments for employment support allowance, you kind of start to get confused, like you're having a fever dream. So anyway, she put me through to this Scottish guy, and he did explain, but it's still a bit confusing. So he asked a range of questions, very basic questions. Do you agree to this? Do you agree to that? Of which she said yes. Um, and only she could answer, but I wasn't able to talk on her behalf. So yeah, so that's how that kind of ended. So the whole process of universal credit just kind of got weird. Um, So at the moment, I'm not really kind of sure what's going on because she's had no correspondence as yet from the Universal Credit. We're told she was told that she'd get a letter through roughly about the 12th, I think. So that would have been about a month after the official migration over, like the filling of a form over the phone. And but I'm assuming that if they send a letter out on the 12th, it probably won't get to her until about the 20th. Um, so yeah, that would be useful to kind of clarify exactly what all this means. And I'm sure a few months down the line it will all make sense, um, but I will say that it is in no surprise that a lot of people end up on the street because of this. It's if it's confusing me, then it's probably confusing, you know, a whole bunch of other people a whole lot more. And it's really a shame how this the modern Britain loves to complicate things that should be quite simple. And for those who need these kinds of benefits, um, to actually make it so complicated that you actually need to read manuals on it. I mean, I've done a degree, and I figured out how to do statistics and stuff, and how to manually work stats out and things. I've done all that, but I have to be honest. I found filling in benefits forms and in the past, especially PIP and stuff like that, has been more challenging than the technicalities and intricacies of doing a degree and learning all this stuff. And that shouldn't be the case, really. Yeah, you can make it hard if you want for people to claim, but um, don't make it impossible. Don't make it so that they need 2 or 3 people to help them to actually make a claim, because that makes their life very fragile and difficult. So yeah, the upside of this was that we phoned up the housing association afterwards, and they were fine. I think they put like a marker on her account just to say, it's payment will be possibly pending. Theoretically, that's what's going to happen. Um, yeah. So, and if things go Pete Tong, we'll have to go back to the advocate. Maybe talk to the CAB again, and this is the most incredibly weird thing about it is that it seems such a smooth, easy process. I almost thought, why am I going to an advocate and talking to CAB when I could probably have done this over the phone myself? And possibly that was the case, but ultimately, it's a lot more complicated than it seems. And what I would advise anyone actually, if they're going through this process, they're coming off ESA with, from a support group over to Universal Credit. What I would advise anyone is do get other people involved, because if not just for the support, and because you can be made to feel really stupid by these people, by the Department of Work and Pensions, and that's not to say that they don't, necessarily do a bad job, but if what is very normal to them that they've already practiced and studied themselves in order to deliver the service of a Department of Work and Pensions, then it's not always so obvious to the user, to the customer. So you do feel stupid, and what you do get if you have an advocate involved in these telephone calls is that the look from the advocate will tell you that you're not stupid and it is complicated, and that the support and help that you get from these advocates is what you really really need. It's like a confirmation that you're not actually doing anything wrong, that you are actually right to think it's very complicated. And so yeah, in these cases, please 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 get an advocate on your side so that they can walk you through um, the terminology, which they've probably heard 1,000 times already, so they'll be experienced in it, and they will know the answers that you need to kind of give. Um, yeah, so it's very complicated, and I feel very, very sorry for my friend. It's quite, it does make you kind of feel a little bit fed up with this. I just hope that, that there are people out there who don't despair and they do get, support because, like I said, I see a lot of people on the street, a lot of people who would resemble my friend, and they fall into bad ways. They live from hand to mouth. They take drugs and alcohol just to kind of mask, the hardships of it. And yeah, there's a lot of people like this. There's a gentleman in Manchester who is very, very popular who was very popular with on the Billy Moore and Charlie Veitch um, YouTube pages, and to see someone like that actually come from on the street to where he's now, it was very humbling to watch that. And I'm going off a little bit off topic, but um, it's also easy to see that somebody who is maybe hardworking and fallen on bad times can actually end up on the street and then rapidly go downhill. Um, and it's very easy for everyone walking past them to make assumptions about their history and stuff. So yes, you know if you're migrating from employment support allowance, the especially the support group, to universal credit, do get advice, do get help, see an advocate, because CAB isn't always that straightforward to get to see, although and the advocates are usually very, very good and very accessible. Um, but see, the CAB is just as important, and they're all volunteers. Advocates usually get paid, but the CAB are volunteers, and they're very passionate about what they do. So yeah, just get help if you're going through this, because believe you me, I thought this simple process has turning out to be more complicated by the day. Um, I don't know what I don't know if there's a nefarious agenda behind this. I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but you do have to stop and think: is there um, uh, making stuff so complicated? Is there some sort of agenda behind it to actually force people into a situation where they either have to go and get a job, um, or if that's not possible, then just die? Um, I know that sounds like a bit brutal, but that's what happens. People spiral out of control very quickly, and they end up dead. Um, and you know what? They don't have to pay many more benefits, so um, it's a win-win for them. Is that cynical? Don't know. Um, Probably realistic. Anyway, as I said, I might not have all the technical facts on this weird new benefit ESA benefit thing that they've sprung on a butt. Um, you know, get genned up on this and get checked out with. Just get help, and I don't want to sort of go down a path of frightening people. There's always somebody that'll help you out there. You need to believe that, and you just need to reach out. Um, so there's a lot of very proud people who won't ask for help. Um, I'd say just swallow your pride for a little bit and just reach out and ask for help. So anyway, just take care of yourselves, and hopefully I won't have made too many more videos on this. Till next time.